This is not a clickbait. The state of North Carolina has gone a little too far. A new state bill says they can issue a license to eligible international medical graduates with no residency, either from the US, home country, or anywhere in the world, and without any USMLE exams. I read this bill extensively, and I'm going to share what this bill says so you know who is eligible for this, and let's do this together. Hi there, I'm Dr. Rajiv Iyer. I'm a double board certified doctor working in the USA for many years, and I have quite extensive experience about all these alternate pathways through which eligible international medical graduates can make a transition of their career into the US. I printed this bill so I can tell you what exactly is going on here. The disclaimer is this information is current at the time of me recording this. This could have been different in the past. This may be different in the future. Keep this in mind. So the first thing the bill says is the board may issue an international medical graduate doctor a employee license to practice medicine or surgery to a doctor when the board has received verification. And this is what the requirements are. Number one is, this is the most crucial thing. The applicant has been offered an employment, meaning you do have a job. Everything starts with a job offer when you think of state licensing pathways. Now, this has to be a job located in a hospital in North Carolina and of course licensed by the state of North Carolina. The second thing is, a medical practice can be located in the rural part of North Carolina with a population of less than 500 people per square mile. Now, the requirement is there must be a doctor sitting there who is fully licensed and who is eligible to supervise you if you do get a job offer in that particular facility. The next requirement is you must have a license that is current and active from your home country or whichever country you're currently working in. If you do not have this, I guess they're okay with that as long as it is not expired 5 years before the date of application. Meaning, if you're applying in 2025, it should not be expired before 2021. The next thing is your medical school or medical college must be from a place that is accredited by World Directory of Medical Schools and does have an ECFMG sponsor or not. They also specify a requirement of your medical school training, which is 130 weeks. I was a bit surprised with this. 130 weeks is somewhere about 3 to 3.5 years. I don't know if any country has a medical school training that is as less as 3.5 years. If you do let me know in the comments below. Because if you do the math, the medical school in the US is about 4 years, and that accounts to about 160 weeks or so. Of course, excluding the weekends, vacation, and things like that, over a period of 4 years. But they're okay with something a little less than that. Here are two options. There is a clinical practice requirement. There are two options. So one is, if you are a graduate out of medical school or medical college, you must have 10 years of practice experience. On the other hand, if you have done any residency in your home country, you must have 2 years of residency, in which case you would need 5 years of practice experience. So that brings up to a total of 7. If you do not have residency, it brings up to a total of 10 years. That's what the new bill says. Now, here is a very interesting thing. What is the exam requirement? This could be USMLE. If you don't have USMLE, they accept the other exam, usual like Complex, Flex, and other things. They also accept MCCQE1, which is an exam offered in Canada. So if you're someone who has completed MCCQE1 and currently not doing anything, and if you think you're eligible for this is something you could potentially explore. Again, the challenge would be, how can you secure a job, which is what the most important thing in this is. Let's say you do not have any USMLE exams. Then they accept your training from 45 different countries. Yes, your training from there is now kind of recognized for you to get a licensure. The medical school or medical college from your home country must be able to demonstrate this, that they test the ability to practice medicine to you candidates. So essentially, your medical college must provide a certificate, which is what I think is going to happen, saying you satisfy all these criteria. The board can also waive all these requirements. Very interesting, isn't it? And can issue a temporary license and require you applicants to successfully pass the special purpose examination called SPECS, SPEX, or post-licensure assessment systems within 1 year of you getting a licensure. So they basically they're making life easy for pretty much most people to walk in. But remember, the key thing is you got it. finding a job. The other requirements are fairly basic, and these are applicable to all state licensures, irrespective of what kind of license you're getting, which is your applicant in your home country must not have any disciplinary actions, like it must not be revoked, suspended, restricted, denied, or otherwise acted against in any jurisdiction, and there are no pending investigations. So this is universally applicable. And then, of course, you must be a good citizen, you must not be convicted by the court, and everything must be in good standing. Again, this is a requirement across all different state licensures in all 50 states. Sure, same thing in Canada. And you must be proficient in English language. They do not specify what English test this is, but I presume the most common test what most people take would be OET, or the Occupational English Test. The next requirement is you must be legally authorized to work in the US. Again, a standard requirement across all types of licensures and all types of jobs, which means you must have a valid visa, or you must be a green card holder or a US citizen to work legally, just like any other job. The next thing is, obviously, you have to submit an application. Now, these 10 things would be the requirement for you to obtain a license. So here are a few other things you must know. The holder of the license must work under the place where they are hired or where they are authorized to work, which I would think is a pretty obvious requirement. You cannot work anywhere else, so you don't want to do that even if you have basically a green card or you're a US citizen. If you are issued this license, the expectation is you do the job you're assigned to. Of course, if you violate all this, you'll be in trouble. The next thing is the board would have complete jurisdiction on this candidate, meaning they would make policies as applicable to this position. And the license ceases if you stop working in any of these locations or you transition to obtain a different type of license. Obviously, you cannot have two different types of licenses, so that is kind of obvious. But the bill does specify that is the scenario. The next question is, when are you eligible to obtain a full independent license? After you work for 4 years in this internationally trained physician employee license, you can then transition to a full unrestricted license in the state of North Carolina. Congratulations if this happens to you. Now, in the meanwhile, you should not get into any trouble. Then that could violate you from transitioning from this license to a full license. The exception being any traffic violations. You jump a red light, you get a parking ticket, you pay for it, I guess it's okay. Anyway, it's best not to get into any trouble, not only at this stage, of course at any stage in life. The board will keep a track of this provisional license and see how many people got it, from which country got it. So they will track all the data, and also they would see how many were successfully converted to a full independent license. This bill kicks in January 1 of 2026. I do have to admit, I'm feeling a bit different in this video because I feel like the state of North Carolina has gone a little too far in this instance. Alright, next I encourage you to watch this video where I have mentioned what are these countries that actually would be eligible for USMLE waivers to obtain a license in this state of North Carolina. There are 45 countries in this list. I encourage to watch the whole list here and also the other state licensures to see if you are eligible to obtain a license in any other state. Of course, the whole process requires extensive knowledge of the US healthcare system. If you need our assistance, you're more than welcome to book appointments with us at www.imgsecrets.com. We will be more than happy to sit with you and guide you about your next steps with your career. Any questions, do post in the comments below. Take care, stay safe. I'll talk to you soon. Now the disclaimer is, now let's say you do not have any training from, let's say you do not have any USMLE exams. Now the board can also waive all these requirements. Very interesting, isn't it? The board can also waive all these requirements. Very interesting, isn't it? If you, and